This is William Schmachtenberg again, and he's going to tell us now about the mission objectives for his field trip to Mars, which mission objectives for the high school students and perhaps other students who might be coming in. So, D-Day, take it away.
Hey, Selby, thanks for doing this, setting up this video for us to talk more about the mission. Many of you know that the Jet Propulsion Laboratory and connected to NASA launched a rocket with the Perseverance rover on it back in July, and it's on its way to Mars. We're all excited. And the main goal of that mission is to explore Mars, but specifically to look for any kinds of evidence of life that might have been on Mars. And so in some of their, they've had presentations online, and they've talked about the importance of understanding the geology, which I totally agree with. In those discussions, they've talked about looking for example, algal stromatolites, but there's lots of other early life on the Earth. And one of the key things is understanding what is a fossil and what is not. So if you take a look at the displays we have over here, here's some iron oxide stains on rocks, which look pretty cool and they're colorful. And I'm sure there's plenty of this stuff on Mars, but it has absolutely nothing to do with life. On the other hand, if you come over here, here's a really cool looking fossil that I found at the Virginia Museum of Natural History and sent it to our very own Evie Marie, and she made this gorgeous 3D fossil just from the image. So this would clearly be evidence of life that we have here. And I've got other exhibits here on 3D web worlds. For example, at the Natural History Museum, there's pictures of archaeocyathids, which are early sponges, and this Saltarella thing. It's a cone-shaped fossil. Nobody has any clue what it is, other than we're pretty sure it's some kind of early fossil. So it's really important to work with museums to try and understand what early life might be like.
So these are your students will have some sort of an assignment to deal with that as they go to the virtual Mars that you've got available to them, right?
Right, and there's a couple of objectives there. I originally created the Jezero Crater Mars region for my high school students, and the students in the activity will have to collect data on the simulation, things like elevation, distance measurements. They're going to have to decide whether they want to drill a rock sample. Do they think, I'll show them a picture, do they think that this is an organic fossil or is it not? So there's lots of objectives. And then what happened was I showed this activity to a middle school teacher near me, and she liked it, but she said that the objectives are really too complex and difficult for middle school students. She prefers something a little simpler. So I adjusted the region to focus on things like measuring mass and volume and calculating density and using that to determine what kind of rocks are present on Mars. So we've got two regions that schools and students can use depending upon the level of the students. I want to use both at the high school, actually, because I think I like both of them.
Yeah. Well, both of them are certainly of scientific interest. So now we've described the students' mission, and I think we are probably getting close to being ready to go to our virtual Mars.
Great.
Is that right?
Yeah, let's go to the high school one on the right there. I think that's the best. So I'll meet you there.
Okay. Turn on the voice.
Yeah. Yeah, I love these little rover things that you can ride around on.
Yeah, well, you're. Oh, I guess I am too. I thought I was the rover, but now I must be actually riding on the rover.
Yeah, it depends upon if you're, if the rover that you're sitting on does not display the avatar, but I can see your avatars on different rovers.
I see. So I see the other avatars, Jamie and Bill Schmachtenberg.
Right. Okay.
And All right, now let's look at these.
Just to be clear, when you teleport to this region, it immediately puts you in a rover, and you become the rover, and you can travel around as you need to.
That's correct, Jamie.
Yeah, actually, the rover is part of your avatar.
Okay, but you wanted to know about the this is a model of the Jezero Crater on Mars, and everything you see here we try to get as realistic as possible. So the landscape that we're on now is based on a 3D model of the actual Jezero Crater landscape. I tried to get rocks that are almost that are identical, equivalent to what the rover will find on Mars. And Selby, you were asking about the drilling operation. So what you basically do is you got to get your rover close to one of these rocks. And then what happens is you'll see a question mark in a disc, in the rock. And so basically you're being asked, do you want to drill this or not? So if I move my focal point over the question mark, it'll say, oh, this is rock 1. It's a sedimentary dolomite. Click the drill me button if you want to collect it. And then it's got location X is equal to 5202, Y is 1254. So the students, I hope, will be collecting that information, and then eventually they plot that up on a piece of graph paper to make a cross section through the Jezero Crater. So I think it's pretty, So I like that. So I'm going to click the drill me button.
And just to be clear for everybody, once you get the window up, you have to hit escape.
Yeah, I know. I had the same problem.
So make sure that you do that. If you have the window up, like you see here on the video, you have to hit escape to actually bring the ability.
It's a very good point.
Yeah.
My pop-up window kept closing until I locked it in with the escape.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it says rock 1, sedimentary dolomite. This rock may contain fossils. So this is a good sample to collect. And the idea here for the actual mission is that the rover Perseverance will take these samples, and then put them in a container, and it can collect up to 30 samples. The samples are about the size of a piece of chalk. That's how big they are. And then in 2030, we hope to send another mission to Mars to pick up the tray and put it on a rocket to send it in orbit around Mars. And then there would be a third mission that would get the samples from orbiting around Mars back to the Earth. The problem is that Congress has not funded the 2030 missions yet. I hope they do. This is exciting science. And I've told NASA I would love to be at the head of the line to look over those 30 rock samples that come back from Mars. I think there might be some very interesting things, or maybe there's nothing in there. Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's amazing science.
Yeah. And by the way, I see that we seem to be in sort of a channel, and I'm guessing this is the channel that is thought to have carried water into the Jezero Crater. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, we start in the channel, and then as you drive around, you're actually on a delta fan. Similar to, think of the Mississippi River Delta, except it's made out of a carbonate, dolomite. It's like chalk, except instead of calcium, there's magnesium there. And the real question is whether there's life here or not. Do you need, one of the things I've been thinking about lately is, do you need an ocean for life, or do you just need water? I've driven around Virginia. There's lots of non-marine sedimentary rocks in Virginia, and I've found no evidence, no fossils whatsoever in them, that you really need to go into the marine sediments to have any chance of even finding algal stromatolites or evidence of algal laminations.
So, and do you have several other items around here that they will have to will consider drilling in? Is that right?
Yeah, I believe there's 5 or 6 stops.
We don't need to go to all of them, but we found out about what they will
Yeah,
do.
I think there's 6 of them that they have a choice of if they want to drill them or not.
Uh-huh.
And then the results appear in what Evie calls the inventory on the left-hand side of the window.
So they will collect them, and they will actually have them available to report on from the for your class. Is that it?
Oh, absolutely. The idea is that this is just the first step. And then they would go about analyzing the data. For example, that X and Y, they would plot a profile through the Jezero Crater, and they would analyze it and try and figure out how deep the water, for example, in the lake was. You can figure that out based on the evidence. And I think it's a couple hundred meters. It's a pretty good sized lake here. It's about the size of the Chesapeake Bay, I think, or larger.
Also, I want to mention for all the teachers that are watching, as you can see, there are 3 of us here, and you can clearly see who is who and what's going on. So it's a very good environment for a lab type setup.
Very true. I think the students are really going to enjoy driving anything around, especially these rovers. I think it could be really exciting, and I hope the kids. My only concern is they're going to drive these things off the terrain.
No. Well, that won't do any permanent damage.
Nah. It's just that they won't get any good data.
Yes.
So.
It's the virtual world, so they can play a little bit while they're here. That's all right.
That's one of the advantages of a virtual world. In a virtual world, you are free to make mistakes.
That's correct.
And nothing bad happens. That's essentially what you can do in any form of play. When things get serious, you can't take any risks. But we take all sorts of risks here.
I just want to say a little bit about this platform, and you all know I'm a huge fan of what Evie Marie is doing with 3D Web Worlds, and I want to talk about the educational value of this. A lot of the resources that schools are going to be using this semester, at least from what I've seen in Virginia, are videos that just talk about facts, about the different types of rocks, and they ask students to memorize those facts and then give them back in the form of little quizzes. But there is, from the videos that I saw, there's no attempt for students to collect data. They're not encouraged to collect data. They're not encouraged to analyze it. And I think that may prepare them for state tests, but you're not doing science, okay? When it comes to science, you should be collecting data, you should be collecting information. This is cutting edge stuff that we're doing here. This mission just launched last month, I meant. So it also talks about current events, and I hope gives the students more appreciation of what NASA and JPL are trying to do on Mars.
Yes, and I was just thinking, now they're going to, what you are having them do is to practice some of the things that scientists really do.
Absolutely.
As contrasted with just reading about what scientists have already done.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these are real science problems that JPL scientists are going to have to consider. And in 2030, we get the samples back, okay, how are you going to analyze them? So it's a good role modeling activity for that. We have our fingers crossed, of course. The launch went off perfectly. I hope the same thing for what's called EDL, which stands for Entry, Descent, and Landing. I hope that the lander has a nice, safe trip to Mars and lands on the surface of Mars without any problems and gives us some great data to look at.
I certainly hope so too. And well, I guess all of us are hoping that. Well, I guess that's we're ready to close this discussion. And I thank you very much, Bill. Would you have any final comments to make?
No, thank you. Other than to say that I appreciate Selby and Jamie, you joining me and making these videos, because I think it really gets the message out as to what we're trying to do on here.
Quickly,
yes.
Before we wrap up, I just want to mention to folks that it's real easy to visit. Just go to 3dwebworlds.com, and that will be in the description of the video. 3dwebworlds.com. Anybody can come in here with a Chrome web browser. It's very simple, very easy. And everybody's welcome.
And by the way, I'm going to comment about something. One of the, I just started an article which basically says, well, it's titled, Collaboration is the Secret Sauce of Virtual Worlds. And we are merely illustrating that right now.
Right. And to that, I would say two things. One, if you do come on 3D Web Worlds, make sure you at least log in with a guest account. If you come in here on portals, you don't get the rovers, so you lose a lot of the fun there. And the other thing, like you just said, Selby, is if you come into the portals, you're missing the collaborative part. It's an easier interface, but this is the 21st century, and we should be collaborating and sharing ideas, seeing each other on a virtual world.
Yes. Well, thank you, and let's we'll close on that note. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Okay. So long, everybody. Bye for now.